So you're thinking about a day trip to Champagne from Paris. Want to know if it's really worth it? Us too.
Worth the hype, right?
Exactly. So we dove into these articles and travel guides and,
Yeah, let's break it down.
yeah, what makes this region so special? And is a day trip long enough?
And it's interesting, right? You'd think it'd be a simple yes or no,
Right.
but it gets kind of deep, especially with how tied real champagne is to where it comes from.
True. Champagne, they kept saying.
Exactly.
So is it more than just a name?
Oh, yeah, it's way more than a name. This place name thing, it's not just marketing. Like, it really changes how the champagne tastes, how much it's worth.
It's like how Scotch whiskey has to be from Scotland, right?
Exactly. You got it. It's a
Okay.
standard,
Yeah.
history. It's just different than any other sparkling wine.
And that makes a day trip so much cooler, right? You're going to the source.
Totally. And the article makes a good point. A lot of people don't have tons of time.
It's not that far from Paris, is it?
Right, no.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a quick trip if you want the real deal,
Most of us are on a tight schedule when we travel.
for sure. Got to make those vacation days count. Speaking of which, one article had this line. It said, as if we hadn't consumed enough champagne during the celebrations. They were at a wedding in Paris.
Already had a ton of champagne and still went.
Exactly. Like, even with all that bubbly, going to the region itself was just too tempting.
So even if you think you know champagne, being there hits different.
Right. Okay. So we've got that. A day trip is doable
Ugh.
and people love it. Buddy.
Big BUT here. Climate change.
That's where things get really interesting.
For real, that article, the one about ruin our champagne, it basically said Champagne is turning into what southern France was, like decades ago.
Yeah.
Hotter, the weather's changing.
Huge deal for the grapes, which obviously changes the champagne.
Anyone who loves a good glass of bubbly, this is important.
Makes you wonder, right?
That,
What you taste now, W, will it be the same in 10, 20 years? It's changing.
like a limited edition, but like for nature.
Exactly. So going now, W, is even cooler. You're getting it at this one point in time.
Okay, I'm convinced. Gotta go. But how do we plan this thing?
That's where the around the web stuff gets useful. We've got options both for Champagne and Paris.
Because it's not all about the vineyards,
Wow.
right? Though I do love some bubbly. But that link, hidden gems of the Champagne region, that's calling my name.
Hidden gems are always fun. Like, even a famous place like Champagne, there's got to be more to it.
Right, you gotta dig deeper, find those little things most people miss.
And those are the memories you keep forever.
Oh, speaking of the Picardy region, it's right there, near Paris.
Gorgeous cathedrals, they said. Little villages, beautiful views.
And bird watching. They mentioned bird watching.
Sounds like a nice change of pace. History, nature, peaceful.
Imagine morning in the vineyards, champagne tasting, then this totally different vibe.
Perfect way to unwind after all that excitement.
See, this is why I love these deep dives. We start with one question, and it's like a whole adventure unfolds.
Exactly. And speaking of adventures, we can't forget the food.
Oh, right. France. Gotta have the food.
Not just champagne with everything, though.
Though I am here for that, don't get me wrong.
Of course, of course. But they mentioned this pairing, Crémant de Limoux with champagne,
That's new to me.
another sparkling wine. But from a different region, totally different taste.
Ooh, taste test time.
Right? It's like the food is part of the adventure, too.
Total sensory experience. Okay, before we get too lost in bubbly and baguettes, what about actually getting around Paris?
Ah, right.
There were tips on that, too.
A bus tour, right.
The big bus, classic double-decker.
Exactly. Hits all the big spots, easy to navigate,
Plus, it's fun. Like being a kid again.
with fewer juice box spills, hopefully.
Hopefully. But seriously, good way to round out the trip. Or, if you don't make it OUT of Paris this time,
Still a good option.
options are key. Planning your own perfect trip.
Exactly. And it sounds like no matter what, there's something amazing waiting.
So that day trip, is it worth it? I think it's a yes. Champagne, here we come.
Definitely worth it. And it's funny, we started with just a day trip, but look where we ended up.
I know, right? It's like travel isn't just about the place, it's all the stuff around it, too.
Exactly. Like being there, really experiencing it. That's what matters. Even things like climate change, it makes you think, I got to see this NW.
Totally. It's like a snapshot in time. I'm picturing our listener now. On a hill, vineyards all around, champagne in hand.
And they made it happen.
Mm.
That's special. Like you said, a snapshot. Imagine saying, I tasted champagne right before it changed.
Wow, yeah. Powerful. Okay, listener, if you weren't already booking that Paris trip,
What are you waiting for?
seriously, go explore, have some bubbly, and cheers to new discoveries.